Hello guys, thank you once again for tuning into my channel. My name is Anthony. I take this opportunity to welcome all of you who have taken your sweet time to tune in today, and it's my hope that today's episode will be refreshing and educative to you as a person. So today I want to talk about exposure. This is in continuation with our mini-series titled Leadership Talks. So just touching on various subjects that I think are very important for young and upcoming leaders. And today I'd like to focus on the exposure spectrum of leadership and why it is important for every leader, and especially the young leaders that I'm speaking to. So every leader who wants to lead, you need to be driven by your ability to bring change and do it differently, So we as leaders have inspiration, and inspiration just gives you an understanding of what you can do. Inspiration acts as your foundation, not your ceiling. But most of us take inspiration as the ceiling. No. Someone who inspires you to start from where they have stopped. That's why it's called inspire. They give you the drive to do better. So a leader who is born a leader has a drive to make society better. And society being better, it means you're pulling the weak areas of society and raising the standard to an elevated level. And because it is a burden within you, because it is something that you do out of passion, you should be able to aim for levels that are really high, because a leader understands that you are leaving a legacy behind. You are stepping forth to lead is a calling. It's something that you're doing for the generations to come. So when you have this inspiration, when you have this drive, when you have this zeal and passion to be a leader, you need to push the boundaries. You need to offer solutions that are much better than what is currently there. Personally, I hate mediocrity. I have never been a fan of mediocrity, sorry to say this. So what is mediocrity? Mediocrity means no originality, basically. Mediocrity means copying and pasting. You look at what someone else has done, it's a business, then you go and replicate. You see someone has started an electronic shop to sell certain electronics, then you just go and do whatever the person is doing and you come and start that business next to where they are. I mean, it's a business, but to me personally, I feel that's mediocrity. And if you understand, especially here in Kenya and in Africa, there's a lot of mediocre people. And for this particular segment, I have no apologies. It is something that I have seen for a very long time. And we have a huge bunch of mediocre people. And this mediocrity, I think it's something that emanates from our education system, because from a young age, the education system that we had in Kenya, the 844 system, was not a system that taught people how to think. Okay? It's a system that taught you how to receive information, store the information, then reproduce it. So there is no utilization of your brain capacity. you are not using your creative faculty of the mind. You're just taking information as it is, waiting for the exam, then reproducing it as it is. Then you have a bunch of people who grow up with that understanding. They take that understanding to life. So someone sees a business, they download that information, then they go and reproduce a similar one. So it is an anomaly, but it is also a gap that is bringing a mediocre group of people, which is creating a mediocre society. Why do I say mediocre? Lack of creativity means we are all replicas. We are being replica. And a replica is just a cheap copy of an original. You are copying someone else's idea, but you are just a cheap copy of the original. And it is against God's wishes, because God created each one of us with a mind, and our minds are very unique to us. The way I view life, my perspective of certain things is very different from yours. For example, this is a mouse, okay? As I am showing you this mouse, when I ask you what you're seeing in this mouse, your answer will be different from the next person, but it's still one mouse. But your point of view is different than the next person. Why? Because your mind is wired to perceive life differently. Your mind is wired to perceive opportunities differently. Your mind is wired to process information differently. And these dynamics, these differences are what make life better. These are the things that make life interesting, because assume life is a blank canvas, then your mind is the paintbrush. So each one of us is supposed to paint differently depending on how we process life, so that when you look at the canvas, the different strokes of paint are differing, they are not similar. So if you do not use your mind creatively, then you go ahead and copy what someone has done. That brings about mediocrity. And that is why you find that poverty is seamlessly spread across Africa. Yes, there are some factors that have contributed to that, but there is also lack of creativity. People don't know how to use their mind to bring ingenuity, okay, in business. People don't know how to be creative. You want to do what this person is doing, then you're expecting to thrive. So if all of you are doing the same thing, who's the one that's going to buy it? Okay, we are supposed to offer different solutions, and because we are not trained to use our minds, we have just become people who copy paste everything. And this is even in how we date. Look at how people are choosing partners. You just do what the next person did. You are looking online and you're seeing someone else live a certain life, then you want that similar life to apply to yours. We've become a society that just copy pastes everything. You want what applies to the next person to apply to your life. That was not how life was meant to function. Each person has their own canvas. You're supposed to paint your own picture of life, depending on the gifts, the abilities, the vision, the dream that God has given you concerning life. So if you abscond your duty, you abscond your role in creating the different dimensions of the possibilities of life, and you want to copy what someone else is doing, then what are you doing? That's why we have so many people who are just copycats, and we have very few people who come up with natural brilliant ideas. And therefore you find a society that one person who is able to think out of the box and do something that not everyone is doing, you start hating on the person. Why? You decided to copy what the next person is doing. This person has decided to follow their heart. So young leaders who are coming up, exposure is very important. You have internet. You are able to see what people are doing in different countries at the touch of a button. You can just take your smartphone and Google something and implement it. So as a young leader, your vision must be unique. You need to have solutions that present an element of uniqueness to it. Don't copy paste what your grandfather did and then you're coming to bring it as a solution. Do not look at what the former leader has done and then you're coming to copy paste that. That's just why should we replace you with that person if you're coming to do the same thing? So exposure is very important. You need to expose your mind to the world. Expand your thinking horizon. Life is bigger than your village. Life is bigger than your locality. Life is bigger than your estate. Life is bigger than your understanding even of life. So the only way you're going to see the possibilities of life is if you train your mind to expand its thinking capacity. Okay, there's something that I read somewhere. I think it's called the neural pathways of your brain. And basically this means that your brain has different pathways that transmit thoughts. Okay? So the more you think of a specific thing, you strengthen that neural pathway. So it becomes a very concrete path that channels those kinds of thoughts. That's why you find that certain people have certain behaviors that are ingrained in them. They have exercised that neural pathway until it has become a very strong part of their brain or mind. Let me use mind. So whatever you train your mind to think on, you strengthen that neural pathway and you find yourself dwelling on those thoughts. Most of us have a very minute utilization of their mind. You don't use your brains to reason. You use a very small percentage of your brain because you don't train yourself to think out of the box. You just copy and paste what you see. And the more you expose your mind to what is happening in the rest of the world, the more you open up more neural pathways for your brain to start processing new possibilities of life. You cannot imagine something that you have not seen. A possibility becomes a possibility because you have been exposed to that thing at one point in your life. So when you're thinking, there is a consideration for that thing to happen because at one point in your life, you were exposed to that thing. If you're an architect, okay, I hope those who are watching this video will understand what I say. Let's say you're an architect, you design buildings, and the only buildings that you know are the ones in River Road, downtown. So you don't know any other type of building. When someone in Westlands calls you to design a building and tells you, I want the best architecture that you can produce as an architect, you will be surprised that your rating will be very poor. It's because your understanding of what a building should look like will be limited to what buildings you have been exposed to. So that is the idea. Those are the possibilities that your mind has in store. But if you're an architect that takes time, go and research the buildings in Brazil, in Spain, in Ireland, in all these places. You open your mind to possibilities of architecture that are not here in Kenya. So when you are told to design a building, Your mind has variety to play with because you have exercised the capacity for reasoning by exposing your mind to the possibilities of life. So you become unique because your painting brush has a lot of designs that it can produce. Your canvas has a variety of possibilities. So as a young leader who wants to stand out, you need to think beyond your village, think beyond what you were told, think beyond your country. You need to start seeing yourself as a brand. When you're called to be a leader, I like what the Bible says. The Bible tells us that we have been given nations. Nations. Ask me for the nations and I will give you. That's what God says. Ask me for the nations. So, nations. How do you perceive yourself functioning in a country that you've never envisioned yourself living in? Your only understanding of life is your village, your estate, your town. That's the farthest you've ever reasoned. That's the farthest you've ever thought about. You've never thought about leaving your town. But yet you want to be a leader. So the world has been condensed into a small village. You can get information at your fingertips. It's just the interest that is lacking. You as a young leader need exposure. You need to expose yourself to how things are done in different jurisdictions, in different places. Stop localizing your thoughts. Stop diminishing your ability to reason. Don't do the things that your grandfather did. They didn't have phones. You are a millennial, a Gen Z. You're reasoning like people who lived in the 60s. No. When you think of you as a brand, you as a leader, think of yourself from a global perspective. Start thinking of yourself as a leader who has the capacity to lead in different countries. You can be a trendsetter in a different country, in Europe, in America, in Australia. So if your brand of leadership only applies to your village or your estate, what happens when you are called or you're given an opportunity to go and be a leader in a foreign nation? What happens? Do you cry? Do you forfeit it? So we need to start thinking of ourselves as brands. Think of your brand as a global brand that is able to package itself, okay, as a viable option, regardless of whoever is calling upon you. Don't limit your understanding to your locality. You need a brand that is relatable. You need a brand that is relevant across the world. That's why you find there are certain leaders that are global, and then there are certain leaders that are just local. And in a world where things are changing fast, package yourself in a way that your impact can be felt all over the world. People can relate to you from anywhere. Look at yourself as someone who wants to achieve greatness. Think beyond mediocrity. Think beyond what your father did. Start seeing the possibilities of life, what you can become just by exercising yourself to the realities of different nations, of different people. Okay? So basically what I'm saying is, every young leader, expose yourself. There's so much out there. Expose yourself to what people are doing, so that whenever you're given the position to lead, do something that will make people look at you and say, truly this person had a vision beyond our time. Do something that puts you on a pedestal, that you'll be remembered for pushing beyond what the people expected. Okay? So Work on exposure, expose yourself, have a great vision. We only have a great vision if you give your mind the ability to stretch the reasoning capacity. Stretching the reasoning capacity means you're availing more options to choose from. More options means you need more exposure, because your brain or your mind can only reason from what it has already seen. You cannot imagine something that you have never seen before. You only know a mother because someone told you this is a mother. You only know what a cow is because someone told you this is what a cow is. You only know red the color or blue the color because at one point someone told you this is red, this is blue, this is green. So your mind can only work with what you've been exposed to. So your ability to have great ideas depends on your exposure to different realities across the world. So you give yourself the ability to play with the possibilities, and therefore you give your mind the optimum condition to exercise the gift that God had given you, because your mind is exponential. Your mind is really powerful. The mind that Elon Musk has and the mind that you have, they're not different. It's just how you exercise the mind. If you train your mind to lazy around, and out of 24 hours you spend 10 hours on social media and the rest just lazing around, when you have someone who spends 12 hours of their day gaining knowledge, then you're expecting you and this person to compete on the same platform. No. Your mind is like a processing machine. What you feed it is what it gives out. You feed garbage to your mind, your results in life will be garbage. You feed content that is beneficial, then you're going to produce results that are, admirable. So we are all the result of what we consume as knowledge. If your life is reflecting a certain reality, then interrogate what knowledge you feed your mind, because the quality of what you feed your mind depicts in the life that you are able to manifest as a person. So I hope every young leader out there will take this seriously. Work on exposure, work on exposing yourself to the possibilities of life, and I do hope that we stop being mediocre. Let us use our minds, let us use our brains to reason. We have the capacity to imagine better futures. We have the capacity to bring ingenuity to the field, and it's time for young leaders to bring something new to the field. Let's just not replicate what our grandfathers and our fathers have done for the longest time. Okay, so with that in mind, I think I will stop it at that for today. Thank you, all of you who have watched until the end. I pray that this makes sense to you. I pray that you find a way to apply yourself to the realities of what is out there in the world, and I wish you a good time, even as you prepare yourself to step up for leadership in the different capacities that you are expecting to. So thank you. Like, share and subscribe to this channel, and I will see you for my next video. Thank you guys, and cheers.